Here we are in northern Manitoba. We had a late night last night getting in here with a float plane. It was about an 8-hour trek north of Winnipeg to get up here. Hour-and-a-half float plane ride. And this is going to be one of those most amazing weeks we've had in a long time. To hunt in the backwoods of Manitoba, it's a trip unto itself. There's nobody here. Miles and miles and miles of nothing. Just water, trees, and wildlife.
Oh my God, this is beautiful country. I'm thrilled to be out here. It's a beautiful morning. It's not too cold. Looking forward to this boat ride, and everybody's told me it's unfathomable how big these animals are, so hopefully I get a shot. This is the first time I'd ever met Dan. You know, I definitely appreciate the opportunity that I got to spend with Dan and, you know, learn from him.
For Dan, this is another trip into Remington country with friends. Some old, some new. Eli Dean is from the Public Relations Department at Remington. And Dan thought a perfect fit to join him on a quest for a Manitoba moose at Natutum Northern Adventures.
I'm a first-time moose hunter. I've been around them all my life, but I've never actually hunted them. Eli, he's the first-time moose hunting, never seen a moose. Although he's a very accomplished deer hunter, turkey hunter, you know, this is his first time out of his comfort zone coming up here to the northern wilderness. Seth Harding's been to Manitoba many times, killed a lot of whitetail. Never seen a moose on a hoof.
Dan's had the pleasure to guide Seth's dad, Frank Hardings, on a half-dozen Colorado elk adventures. But on this trip, father and son are on their own.
This whole experience out here is really something else. It's just being able to come out here and not even hear another hunter, or even, I think we saw one plane pass over us the entire time. You know, I mean, that's the closest thing to anybody else that we got than the people in our cabin.
One thing you can say for sure about this country right here, it's Remington country, that's for sure. This place is, without a Remington, you'd be in trouble.
It's gorgeous. I was really happy when this is the one that they told me that they were going to hook me up with. But it's 300 Win Mag, it's got the Zeiss scope. Should be able to put the hammer down on a big Manitoba moose.
When we came up to moose camp, and clear out here in the middle of no place, everybody shows up to moose camp with a Remington 700. We're kind of reluctant to shoot right now because there's moose tracks when we set up the target, so we're just going to keep it down to a couple shots and just to make sure we're all good to go in the morning.
The legendary Remington Model 700 can be customized with an array of stocks, barrels, magazines, and action lengths. And it's chambered in several different calibers to suit whichever game you're after, making the 700 the ultimate gun for anyone, anywhere.
I'm high and left.
I might be the luckiest man in the world because I get a call from Remington saying, if you have a dream list of weapons to use in the field, what are they? My ideal gun is a 300 Remington Ultra Mag, and I said if they have it in a left-handed model, because I shoot left-handed. And lo and behold, they sent me a 300 Remington Ultra Mag from the custom shop, left-handed, and you know, it is the perfect weapon in all of North America. You're right in the circle.
Perfect. My gun's on.
With the Remington 700 dialed in, Dan and Eli head out on their first sortie into the Manitoba wilderness, hoping a huge moose will step into their crosshairs.
Trying to spot a big trophy moose out here on these shorelines. Moose like to come to the water, so I've been told. Hopefully see a big 50-inch paddle splash in the water. You can't walk in this country. The marsh is about that big, and the moss, every time you stepped anywhere, you'd go a foot down. And the trees and the foliage is just so thick. And so really the only way to get around here was on boat. Like I said, I'm just excited to learn more about this.
So we're all first timers out this. This is cool.
This is really cool.
I've done so much work with elk and calling them in.
Right.
I'm anxious to see the interaction, the difference between an elk and a moose.
I've heard it's like turkey hunting on steroids as far as calling them up.
The actual hunt is so much different than an elk hunt. The way they hunt them is we go into a stand that overlooks these kind of beaver bottoms set up and called.
You know, just keep an eye out on the edges of the lake. in the marsh.
Okay.
Because that's where they're going to come out. But he's going to be calling over here. They'll be able to hear him.
Okay.
So we have to keep an eye out over here just in case he calls something in off the shore.
Through their experiences, it takes a moose, you know, because we're calling for one or two bulls that are in an area, and Kent was saying that it takes them a day, it takes them an hour, it might take them 15 minutes, but it could take them 2 days to get into this area once you're calling.
They've got these stands built up here so you can see over the willows. What we're looking for is the white paddles coming through the brush. It is so calm this morning, it's almost eerie. If I was elk hunting, this would be a killing morning just because of the way it is. Here we go again. We're winding it down, getting to the last days. We haven't even seen a moose yet. We got a pretty big change of weather today. Went from 45 degrees yesterday morning to 15 degrees this morning.
15 degrees. It never happens in Manitoba in the middle of September. You know, that was the reason why we picked this week, because of the weather. I mean, it's cool but not cold, and all the moose are just beginning to rut. This should be the prime week.
The bulls that are with the cows now, we've heard multiple reports on the satellite phone that the bulls are gathering with the cows, so it's going to make it a little tougher on us to call the bulls away.
This cold snap that came through, it kicked the cows into estrus, and you cannot call a bull away from a hot cow. It just won't happen. They were staying in the woods, coming out at dark. You know, what do you do? There's nothing you can do.
If you were to think to yourself, the most opportune place to see a moose, this is it, and we haven't yet, so we're just waiting to see one, man.
We came to a different location this morning, and as you can see, it's just foggy and cold. It's about 15 degrees outside, but it is a very good spot for moose. As you can see, it's all marsh and swamp.
Man, the weather. We were thinking like, awesome, fall weather, great. And shoot, we woke up one morning, the water was frozen over, everything was frozen. It got down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit.
There's lots of ice. The lake started freezing over, and so hopefully we get a shot here and pull it all together this morning. My hopes are high this morning. It's really cold. It's beautiful, so hopefully we get one.
Eli's positive outlook, perseverance, and love of adventure are truly impressive. And they serve as a reminder to every one of us that in Remington country, it really is all about the outdoor experience.
Actually, we never saw a moose. What we discovered was that these moose are moving right at dark. They've tailored themselves to use the darkness as security, and we were leaving about the time the moose were coming out, and it hurt to hunt.
These moose are coming out in the middle of the night, and they're totally nocturnal now for some reason, and it's been a tough hunt. We're frustrated as hell.
Although Dan and Eli never located the huge moose they were after, another young hunter on the trip did, and his success put an exclamation point on this unforgettable adventure.
Last night, Seth stayed out, found himself a monster moose. He came up here to northern Manitoba to go moose hunting, and he did that, and very successful at it. We're going to run over and retrieve the moose that Seth harvested last night. It's a process that I've never been through, so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
We wanted Eli to harvest the moose, but we didn't. That does not mean that this is not a successful hunt. The success part of this hunt is being out there, seeing the excitement in Seth's eyes when we walked up to that moose the next morning, and seeing the Eli and just awestruck at the size. And myself, I've got to figure out how to get a moose out of the woods.
Holy cow.
Such an animal.
It's just crazy how big these things are.
Walking up to the first moose, I mean, it's something, I've walked up to deer my whole life. That's the only really animals that I ever hunt hard, and seeing a moose, it's about 5 times the size of that. I mean, it's breathtaking, man. It makes the necks on your hair stand up. Sat all day in the same spot, calling all day long.
All day.
12 hours. We heard them scraping in the woods, back there along about a couple 100 yards away, raking some trees, and our guide Eddie did a heck of a job calling them in, and this guy came in ready to fight. Came in just walking straight through the bushes right here, just bobbing back and forth and stared straight at us.
Even though I wasn't able to pull the trigger on this trip, it's not what it's about, man. It's just the traditions, and on this trip I was able to see a father and son come together, and you know, there's nothing that you can say to describe that. You could see the emotions on those guys' faces, how awesome it was, and you know, for me to just be a part of it, I just feel very lucky.
The old Remington 700 put her down. He didn't move 10 feet from where first shot was.
Yeah, 300 short mag. It's our favorite gun.
Coming up to a camp with friends is what made Remington who it is today. 200 years of camp, friendship, camaraderie, and hunting stories. And that's what this is, a week of hunting stories and memories that will never be forgotten.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
Couldn't happen, better guy.
Oh,
Thank you.
Look at the gray on his back and his rump.